Catholic Answers Live
Super Show.
I am Cy Kellett, your host. This is Edgar
Lujano,
the assistant to the host.
Assistant host.
Hi, Edgar. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. I'm so happy. I'm glad to be back, but I was glad to be away too. I got to go to Oklahoma. The Catholic Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma is amazing.
It seems like it's booming there.
It's booming in a weird way though, because it's a tiny little percentage of the population. So it's booming relatively. They seem to have a great bishop there. They got all kinds of wonderful people. So thanks to everybody at the Catholic Man Show and St. Michael Catholic Radio. And I saw Joe. That was fine. I saw Carlo. That was great. It was just nice. It was a really nice time. And it was about 35, 40 degrees. So it's still not winter. I did want to, there's going to be a lot of content in this hour. And as you can see, there's a new studio. We're in a brand new studio built in a barn out back behind the, no, that's not really true. It's in the same spot. It's in the same studio. It's been rebuilt by Edgar. So we'll talk about that, but it's a content heavy day. And I want to get right into this story about a nativity scene in Dedham, Massachusetts. I don't know how many people have heard about this, but this was in the New York Times yesterday. This was in the New York Times. Did you hear this story, Darren? Yes, sir. You did? Are we going to have Darren Cam for this episode or no Darren Cam?
I don't think so yet.
Are you guys working on Darren Cam?
We're trying.
All right. Okay. Shoot, we really like to have Darren Cam. But all right, so I'm just going to read some of what the New York Times wrote. Jenna Russell, writing for the New York Times, December 8th, 2025. Leaders of the Catholic Church near Boston kept a nativity scene display with an anti-ICE message in place on Monday, defying an order from the Catholic Archdiocese of Boston to remove it. All right, I'm just going to keep reading because that's very packed right there, defying an order from the Catholic Archdiocese of Boston. Look, bishops govern pastors. So there's no mention of the priest or the bishop, but ultimately this is not some bureaucratic thing of the Catholic Archdiocese of Boston told a parish to remove something. This is a bishop governing one of his pastors, and the pastor not responding. So here's a little more. The display outside St. Susanna Parish in Dedham, Mass. includes the traditional shepherds, sheep, and wise men gathered around a hay-filled manger, but Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus are missing, replaced by the sign reading, "ICE was here," in bold blue letters. First of all, the first people to go would be the wise men. All right, we know that they're from out of town, so that's not realistic at all. The Holy Family is safe in the sanctuary of our church, adds a smaller note inside the nativity scene, which is protected by a plastic shield. If you see ICE, call Luce. The display includes a phone number for Luce, an immigration advocacy group, which tracks the activity of immigration and customs enforcement agents in Massachusetts. All right. I just want to tell you what this reminds me of. There was a while ago where global warming activists spray painted Stonehenge. And you're like, what? Because they have become what the technical term for that is a fanatic. But in the definition of Pope John Paul II, I have this on a person who asked Pope John Paul II, what is a fanatic? And Pope John Paul said, in English, piece of pie is whole pie. That's what he said a fanatic is. Piece of pie is whole pie. And I think that's exactly right. Your piece of the pie has become so overwhelmingly important that, a place like Stonehenge, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It might be to the rest of the world one of the most important heritage sites we have, a reminder of the long and incredible history of the human species here on Earth. But to you, no, it's just the thing that it's part of your campaign. And the creche, the display of the Holy Family, it's just not important to you anymore. It's just part of your campaign to make a political statement. Is the political statement wrong? Is the political statement right? It doesn't matter. And in my view, it does not matter. And all right, so last week, so speaking to reporters on late Monday outside the Brick Church, The Reverend Stephen Josoma said the intent of the display was to evoke dialogue, not cause a furor. Is that really true? Did he want people to come in dialogue with him? Is that what it was? He said parish leaders would confer with leaders of the archdiocese before making a final decision on its fate. What? You either obey the bishop or you don't. It's not a conferring, really? Unless the bishop said, hey, I'd like to confer about this, I think you should just do what he said.
I think this is one thing both sides of the aisle have in common. If they don't like something the bishop disagrees with, they're just going to go with their own thing.
Yeah, right.
Both
The
sides.
bishop told you what to do. Sometimes, occasionally, bishops have told us what to do here at Catholic Answers, and you know what we did? We did it. like, come on.
You're radical.
Now, but now I must say, bishops have always been very kind to us, and we have, so I know there are circumstances in which it is very difficult, but when you became a priest, you pledged your obedience to the bishop. I didn't even ever pledge my obedience to the bishop. Never. And so you pledged your obedience to the bishop. So what is this consultation about? This seems like a person who has lost his way. But he added some do not agree with our display does not render it sacrilegious. Okay, that's a beautiful irrelevancy. Last week, the Catholic Archdiocese told the parish to take down the signage in its nativity display. Now, I must say, the reporter should have done a better job of this. Who in the Archdiocese said this? Who in the Archdiocese made it? Was there a letter from the bishop? Because if that's the case, this reporter should have the sense to say the Archbishop ordered this. In a statement, archdiocesan leaders, again, unnamed leaders, said that churchgoers have the right to expect that they will encounter genuine opportunities for prayer and Catholic worship, not divisive political messaging. There are moments for political messages in church. And I could even say, in this case, maybe there was an intention not to disturb, but to, as the pastor said, just to stir up or to evoke, he said, dialogue. Whatever. Once the bishop tells you knock it off, knock it off. The statement also cited church norms prohibiting the use of sacred objects for any purpose other than the devotion of God's people. I think that's probably referring, I looked this up, it's probably referring to Canon 1171 of the Code of Canon Law. Sacred things which are designated for divine worship by dedication or blessing are to be treated with reverence and are not to be used for profane or inappropriate purposes, even if they are owned by private individuals. Now, I think someone would come back and get legalistic here and go, "What's profane about this? This is an important message, or what's inappropriate about this." I'm not trying to have an argument about now. Of course, then they have quotes from ICE and all that, and as they should. That's good reporting. But look, man, the church is the doorway to heaven. Treat it with respect. You know, like what would you think if some pastor were to put up on his parish, don't vote for so-and-so, he's pro-abortion. You'd say that's an abuse of the church. That's not what the church is for.
Or putting a big old MAGA sign in the middle of the nativity as well instead of the baby Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That'll upset some
which
people.
Probably is being done somewhere. Honestly, I haven't heard the reporting, but I mean, I'm not saying that this is a rare thing, but it seems to me that if a priest doesn't know what the church is for, if the priest doesn't have above all the interest of helping people to worship God, and the priest is going to make mistakes like this. But this does strike me as a mistake. It also seems to me that, here's what the ICE acting director said. He told the Boston Herald that the scene is absolutely aberrant or abhorrent. People say that different ways. And part of a dangerous narrative responsible for a sharp increase in assaults on ICE officers. I don't think so. I think, settle down. The fact that this guy took Mary, Joseph, and Jesus out of the manger and said ICE came, but nobody's going to attack ICE officers because of that. That's not the issue here. That's just waving the bloody shirt a little bit. But I do think this pastor is obviously and profoundly wrong. And we have gotten so sick in our addiction to politics that we cannot see that, I don't know, like, Jesus hanging on the crucifix, would you put your campaign pin on him and be like, no.
I guarantee you that's happening somewhere too.
Yeah, probably. But sacred things are sacred, and it's not nothing to have a place that's for everyone to come close to God. That's not nothing. If you want to make the moral argument against deporting people, or against, as the U.S. Catholic bishops recently did, whatever you think of those arguments, it's certainly okay for clergy to make those arguments. It's not okay for you to, and it is in fact a sacrilege. It's not just disagreeing with you. It's a sacrilege. What you did is a sacrilege. Don't do it. It's a horrible thing. You have to. I don't know.
There's a difference between actually doing something about it and waving a flag like this.
Yeah.
Because this right here screams, this is where we stand. If you do not agree with us, there is the door. Go away.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does scream that. It screams, we don't want you here. And I'm sure there are churches, Catholic churches, where MAGA people feel uncomfortable. And I'm sure there are Catholic churches where non-MAGA people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that as a Catholic, knock it off. Stop it. That's not what the church is for. When we're in there, in that church to pray, or outside of that church to stand in front of the statues or kneel in front of the statues and pray, or whatever we're doing at that church, has a sacredness and should allow for a sacred intimacy with God that is so far beyond politics. Just let people do their thing. I remember years ago people getting mad because Lady Gaga was going to mass, and people were like, "Oh, she's such a hypocrite."
Welcome to the church.
What are you? Let Lady Gaga go to mass and leave her alone. Leave her alone, or maybe just say "Peace be with you" at the time for the greeting of peace. But what is this of always having an opinion about who's welcome in God's house and who's not? Like, what are you? Jesus turned over tables to make sure my Father's house is the house of prayer. That's Jesus's words. That's not the bishop. That's not the Pope. That's not even really high authorities like radio hosts. That's Jesus that said that.
Andrew Beecham Media on YouTube says they should have put an empty manger with the sign saying Planned Parenthood was here. So
yeah, but they shouldn't have done that.
Exactly. It's the
right.
same. We should have the exact same reaction to a sign of Planned Parenthood, that Planned Parenthood is here, as this sign here. It's like, stop trying to desecrate that which is sacred. Keep those. Yeah. Again, it's high temperature, high emotion signs, and just keep those out of them. Like there's something sacred about the nativity scene. Why do this?
Yeah.
Why do this? Instead of having a time of Advent where you're preparing for the Savior, where this can be a really good time to come together, celebrating the birth of Christ. Instead, it's making a statement that I don't think it should be made, at least not now.
Now, when somebody comes to the church and their dad or mom works for ICE, or somebody comes to the church and they're law enforcement of any other kind, or somebody comes to the church and they just don't agree with this, you can say they're wrong. You can have debates with people. You can have dialogue and conversation. But what you can't do is desecrate the church in such a way that that person is made to feel that they're not the right kind of person for that church. They're not. That's not what the Holy Family is for. That's not what Jesus, Mary, and Joseph are for. And if you're going to have somebody out, again, I would say the wise men. They're not from here, all right? They came from, I think, Ethiopia and Persia, and you're like nodding your head like, yeah, we should keep the wise men out. Is that your view?
I completely agree.
You're all like,
no. Yeah. So I was having this conversation about keeping out versus not. The people make this comparison that Mary and Joseph would be deported, but the problem is all of this was conquered territory by the Roman Empire. It's not like they're coming in from another conquered territory. They're all under the same Roman Empire. So it's kind of, there is in one bit of sense a open travel policy, especially there.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't leave one polity to go to another.
Yeah, it's. I think this would be more of Mary and Joseph are going from like Poland to Spain. It's not because like it's open travel
Maybe
around there.
even slightly less than that. I mean, it's not quite like travel between the states of the United States, but it's also not quite like travel between modern countries.
Like European countries, even though there is a kind of like an open border policy amongst European nations. I think,
that's true. Yeah, the modern European Union. Yeah,
so
that might be the case.
To me, that's more equivalent than this.
Well, but the thing is, though, I don't have any problem with people. At least to me, it seems perfectly fine to use the Holy Family's flight to Egypt as a kind of icon of the plight of the war refugee or of the refugee from violence in their country and all, because that is what they were. There's nothing wrong with that. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with a pastor having political opinions. I just think when you get to the point where you are taking the things of prayer, when you are taking the things of reflection, when you are taking the things of the season, a very special season of the church, of this liturgical season, and you are making political things out of them, you are doing a wrong. And you should not be like, well, when I meet with we'll consult with the archdiocese. Dude, you got nothing to consult about. Just do what he said. But again, the reporter does not make clear whether or not it was the bishop directly who got involved. But in essence, if you're disobeying those who the bishop has given governing authority, you're disobeying the bishop. And this is not a spirit of the peace of Christ. This is not a spirit of obedience. This is a spirit of politics and rebellion. And when we get into that kind of a spirit, we got to move out of it. We got to get out of it. Do you want to talk a little bit about the studio for a minute?
Yeah,
I
we can do
wouldn't
that.
mind if you did.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Are there Easter eggs hidden in here?
There's everything here has
this guy from the haunted house at Disneyland, but
with his face coming off. No, so what I wanted to do when I redid the studio is I wanted it to be a kind of like a homage to the legacy of Catholic Answers. So everything in here has a specific meaning, dedication. So right behind me from my angle, you can see the big Catholic Answers sign. That's the original sign from when they redid the studio for the very first time. So it was actually in the wall that I'm facing. So
wait, that one is?
That's it, yeah.
Where'd you get it? Where was it?
It's stashed away somewhere, and I had to rip it out of the hands of a wild Bigfoot. So, yeah.
Oh, John
Sorensen.
Sorensen.
So I figured it would be great to bring it back into the studio, and for this studio's third iteration, why not bring it back?
Did you repaint it, or did you just put it up?
It was mounted on a piece of plywood because I think it had broken. But since we put it back in, I figured just blend it into the color of the walls. So that's one thing. The other thing here to my left, you can see two magazines framed. It's one of the earliest issues of This Rock magazine and the very last issue of Catholic Answers magazine that we've printed. So just a little honor of that. I mean, it's how many years did we have Catholic Answers magazine? It was what, 20, 30 plus years? Something to that effect.
I don't know.
So This Rock magazine is from 1990, and then of course 2025.
Nice.
Yeah, and then of course the mandatory YouTube play button, because we're constantly on YouTube. And I did tell Todd Aguilaro, our director of publishing, that, and it's going to be solidified in here, that print will always be above digital media in this circumstance. And I'm sure Chris can appreciate that as well.
I don't.
You know?
No, I don't.
Because you're on digital media. That's why.
I want to give you a comment
Yes.
from Andrew. When we were talking about the priest with that took the baby Jesus out of the manger and had ICE arrest him. Your arguments are basically sit down and be quiet because everyone has communion without having to repent. Now, here's my thing. Whenever someone says your arguments are basically, I feel like we're off to a bad start. Yeah. Like, if you're going to rephrase the arguments that way, Andrew, it's going to be impossible to have a conversation, because that is clearly not at all our argument. Our argument was that, as a matter of fact, that we should morally challenge one another, and that the priest has every right to morally challenge people. But you don't get to desecrate churches to do that.
Yeah.
You don't get to desecrate manger scenes and all that. So
to me, this would
nice
be
try, Andrew. But next time, instead of summing up our argument, make your argument. We'll do better that way.
To me, it's the same thing as putting a pride flag on an altar. It's something sacred. You're not, don't put these political things.
What about an
into the
American
sacred.
flag on an altar?
And I say no, absolutely not.
I never liked the American flag on the altar thing either. And I don't know if it's not on the altar.
No, I'm
It's-
talking
it's-
about
it-
draped over the altar itself.
No.
Yes, I mean there's images of this stuff where they have actually done it.
People put a pride flag over
Pride
the
flag,
altar
yeah.
of the church.
So it's the cloth on top of the altar that they offer the sacrifice of the mass on. So if they were to do that with an American flag, I would say they have this exact same reaction to the
well,
pride
if it was
flag.
a special mass celebrating Noah, I could see doing that. No, you see what
Yeah, in today's context, I'm not sure about that.
but context matters here.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so you go ahead with the studio.
All right,
Yeah,
so
more.
these two shelves here, I decided not to go with the massive amounts of books in the background. So everything on here again has a little bit of symbolism. So the scales of justice, I know it makes us look like a law office, but it's a specific reason. So
You got a deal on him.
I
Don't
got a
even
deal,
lie.
that's right, yeah.
Were you down at
Facebook
Ross Dress
Marketplace.
for Dress for Less?
So the founder, Carl Keating, was a lawyer, and it's kind of just a little nod to him.
Got a deal.
It got a deal, yeah, exactly.
You got a deal.
So that's a dedication to him. And then right beneath him, we have a bronze statue of Saint Junipero Serra. How about that? Saint Junipero Serra, just for those not understanding my accent. So the founder of the California missions.
Why is Junipero Serra in a boat? What's the boat about?
I don't know.
Because
I didn't make the statue,
he's just not he's not famous for boats.
I mean, he
He's-
came over
I mean,
on
he had to
he
come
came
over
on a
ship.
boat, yeah.
But I'm not.
I don't know, man.
Did you get a deal on that too?
I got a
Was
deal
it
on
like-
that one too. That's right.
like-
I was scouring the internet for deals. Is what I was doing. So I mean, we're based in California, so why not? You know, it's Junipero Serra is one of the first. No, was he one of the first in California? The Catholics. Yeah. So
He was one of the first Catholics.
yeah, one of the first Catholics here bringing the faith. So a little honor to him. And then below that, we have a typewriter that, yes, I did find a great deal. I got
You
it
can't
for a
get
good
those
deal.
new, I don't think.
No, I don't think you can. Although they are starting to make older things that are new again. So like record players, that's a thing.
Yeah.
They're back.
Yeah.
So
I know. John Sorensen. He loves his record players.
That's right. So this is in honor of all the print that we've all the things we've printed here at Catholic Answers, and also a little dedication to you.
Me?
And yeah, as you were the editor for. No, but I would say the typewriter as well. It's
the
kind of-
typewriter.
The typewriter.
I
yeah.
thought you had like a beautiful picture of me somewhere. or
Oh
something.
yeah. I don't want to ruin the studio.
Man,
Come
I got
on.
all fired up for that.
You were the editor, right, of the Southern Cross.
Southern Cross
Yeah.
newspaper, yeah. And because no one has read it in the since I no, that's not what I meant to say. Because I left 20 years ago,
Uh-huh.
I can say I was a great editor because no one can find the back copies to find out that I was not a great. I was a great editor of the newspaper. I want to share with you a comment, which is actually an interesting comment to me about that church we were talking about. Someone said, King Neptune 05 said, "You sure it wasn't an Anglican church?" And that's funny because the New York Times got a quote from somebody supporting that church. And I guess they couldn't find a Catholic because they got an Episcopalian woman. Elizabeth Doris Guston, 67, a longtime neighbor of the parish who attends an Episcopal church, said she and many of her neighbors look forward to Christmas displays at St. Susanna every year. You might not agree with everything, but it makes you think, she said. It's so modern and rationalistic. The church is not there to make you think. The church is there to sanctify you.
Yep.
I wish a few more churches. I mean, there's nothing wrong with thinking. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with thinking, but that's not the purpose of
I'm really
the church.
glad you said that, clarified that.
I wish a few more churches would be this bold. Yeah, me too. I wish, as a matter of fact, I wish there was more communist church. I mean, that essentially, look, we're not trying to get everyone's thinking right. We're trying to, that's not the purpose of the church, is to get everyone right thinking. The purpose of the church is to share a historical fact that happened, that God himself came into history and to bring people into contact with that God who came into history so that they can be saved. Right thinking is not part of it, and it's tiring. All this Catholic, unless you think like me, you're not worthy to be in the church with me. It's tiring, and we got to stop it. All right. Any more about the studio you want to do?
We could pause there and do another one of the articles because we have that side of the studio to kind of look into. So,
Okay.
whatever you'd like.
So you want me to do this?
Yeah, we can get into the next topic and then we can get back into the studio.
The next topic is blowing people up at sea.
Cy picking all the lighthearted topics.
I told you it
today.
was going to be content heavy today. Let's see what YouTube says. I'll give you a minute before I say anything about blowing people up at sea. YouTube, go ahead and take your shots. Takes up so much space for me. Okay, lawn method. Okay, well, I don't know what
Mark
the
Marvin
people are-
says vinyl is big in Europe. I like that comment. It's
Yeah, that's because they just barely have electricity there.
Yeah.
It's the crank kind. All right, I'm waiting for somebody to say something about blowing things up at sea. And Adrian will love the nod to his channel with Saints. Oh yeah, right. Sips with Sarah.
Sarah, that's right.
Yeah. Why is everybody always drinking in the Catholic? Like, is it because Matt Frad did Pints with Aquinas?
Yes, that's
that
exactly it.
Everybody has to have
Wait.
some drinking motif.
Darren, what was your title of the year with all the different titles? Like the popular titles, the sips with somebody in a day, or what? Do you remember what you said?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. But
It was sips with pints.
Oh, in a year, because everybody's
pints
doing
with
in a year.
Aquinas
too.
in a year, or something to that effect. There's a bunch of them that he put together.
Yeah,
But-
because if Father Mike does Bible in a year, it's a huge success. Now everybody's got to do in a year.
In a year, yeah.
Matt
our-
Matt Frad does Pints with
with
Aquinas.
Aquinas.
Everybody's got to have some.
Well, now there's sips with Sarah, and then there's somebody else who does pints with Jack. Who's the one that does?
Oh
that?
yeah, that's
David Bates.
good.
David
David
Bates.
Bates does a very nice thing with
Yeah.
Jack being
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. And then there's another one that I just discovered.
Did that go out on the air that you said that in my ear? Or
Yeah, yeah.
I could have, if you just said it without letting it go out on the air, it could have been like I thought of it, Darren. You could have made me look really good right there.
So
Nobody said anything so far about blowing people up at sea. Let's
there's
see.
another page that I just discovered. It's called Tequila with Escriva,
Like tequila with the scriva.
which is hilarious because he's Spanish. He's not Mexican, so it doesn't really fit too well. Tis what it is.
Well, yeah, but does the alcohol have to match the person? I guess pints
mean-
with Aquinas. Did Aquinas drink pints? I don't think the alcohol has.
No, but
you
he-
just got to get
he
an
just-
alcohol that goes with.
Let's go with him. So
Yeah,
we got to
in a year.
So get one with whiskey, one with wine. Can you do wine? Or is that sips with Sarah?
All right, you cowards over at YouTube, you're all going to make comments once I start talking about blowing people up at sea, but nobody's got to take now. As of right now,
That's a way to endear yourself to the comment section. Is calling them cowards. Good job, Cy.
no, I'm not trying to endear myself to them. I'm trying to provoke them so that they will write something, and it's true. It's not fair to just because people are acting cowardly to call them cowards, just because they're afraid to put anything in writing.
Cy's choosing
You're all
violence
mad
today.
at me. You're all mad at Pinot with Pio.
Pio.
All right, I like that, King Neptune.
King Neptune, that's a good one.
We have a record store. Nobody wants to talk about blowing people up at sea. All right. Do y'all even know what I'm talking about?
I like Pinot with Pio. That's a good one.
I wanted to wait until people said something, but all right, I'll go. I'll go if you won't go. YouTube. I'm gonna give you a few more seconds.
Graham
to say
said,
something.
"Okay, Cy, you asked for it."
Boom,
Graham, let him have it.
Lay it on me, Graham. Do. Okay.
All right, let's talk about blowing people up.
Okay, Sai, you asked for it. Come on, Graham. I don't know why people used to do that when they would box.
And that sound effect he just made too.
All right. We're going to talk about blowing people up at sea. I don't know if you know about this, Edgar, but the United States, I don't know if it's the Navy or the CIA. Honestly, I think it's the Navy because they got an admiral in charge of it, but it might be the Special Forces Command.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure which branch of the United States,
So one of the
military
branches-
or non-military, but they've been blowing people up off the coast of Venezuela. As far as I know, I think it's off the coast. I mean, it might be farther out at sea. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're way off the coast of Venezuela. Because they got these boats full of drugs, and so then they load these boats up with drugs. I'm in Scotland. We don't
Commit.
war crimes. Oh, commit war crimes because we know. Oh, that was Graham's take. You will get prosecuted if you commit war. All right, so Graham's take is that it's a war crime. Here's the deal. So people are in the boats.
What do they have in the boats? What are they doing in the boats?
I think it's fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
And is that how you say it? Fentanyl? Fentanyl? It's spelled fentanyl.
I think it's fentanyl.
And then they get all this deadly drug in their boat, and they try to drive it to America. And then the Americans, I'm not, like I said, I don't know which branch it is. They drop bombs on them from the air, and then they put videos of it on CNN. So this is I'm sure that there is a legal question here, but I'm sure they've dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's legally. But there's also a moral question. So that's what I wanted to talk about, the moral question of raining down death from the sky. And you can't get out of the moral question just by saying they're drug dealers or they're bad people or they're doing evil, because they're probably all of those things. I don't know for sure that they're all of those things, but I'm willing to suspend my usual stance of suspicion towards government agencies and go, yeah, these guys, I'm sure they know what's on those boats, and I'm sure that it's fentanyl. And okay, so I'm cards on the table. I'll just go with, yeah, all right, I'll accept what the government says, despite the fact that there's no actual way for me to know this or for any independent source to verify it. It does seem to fit with all the evidence. So, okay. That stuff is coming into the United States. Yep, that seems to be a moral fact too. So this is an illegal, immoral, evil thing being done on the high seas that will kill people in America.
Yep.
It'll kill people when it gets to America. So you could say, well, just blow them up then. But if you say, well, just blow them up, then you have not done your due diligence, so to speak. You haven't met your obligation as a Christian person. Now, I'm not talking about the people shooting the missiles. They could be Buddhist, they could be Hindu, they could be Jewish, but as a Christian person who talks about these kinds of things, like what is the morality of this? We have to ask ourselves about the morality. And when you see people getting blown up on the high seas, you really should have at least a moral reservation. And so I wanted to talk about that moral reservation. Now, if you don't have a moral reservation, it could either be because you are so well informed and so practiced at this that you have every reason to believe that it is completely moral. But if you're like most of us, which are neophytes, we don't participate in wars, we don't know really what's going on in the Caribbean or the Caribbean, either one. We have to ask ourselves, when we see people being killed, is that right? Is that just? And I've been asking people for like 2 weeks. I've been going around asking everybody I could, what do you think about this? And I haven't found anybody willing to commit. Everybody's like, I don't know. Most people are like, I think it's all right because bringing this stuff into the United States is tantamount to an act of war, and we have the right to do. And I don't even think it myself. I don't even think it needs to be tantamount to an act of war. I don't think that's what just war doctrine says. It says that it has to be an attack on the common good. So in order to defend the common good, you can use violence. Governments can use violence. I can't use violence, but the government can. So let's talk about the just war criteria, and we'll see what we think. And then you can play along at home and see if you agree with what Edgar and I might come up with, or just maybe we can have an informed conversation by paying attention to what the church says. All right, so you need to have a just cause.
Okay.
If you're gonna engage in warfare, you need a just cause. So is it a just cause in order to save the lives of those who would be killed and save the dignity of those who would be degraded by these drugs in the United States? Is that a just cause? It has to be the evil has to be lasting, grave, and certain. Okay?
Okay.
So what would you say? Yes, there's a just cause. YouTube, you can get involved in this. We're willing to hear what you have to say. Is there a just cause? Hallelujah is way ahead of me. Way ahead of me. Hang on, Hallelujah. We're going to get there. This is this. Did you see what Graham said? This chat is definitely not a workable forum for nuanced conversations. I'm not going to try to comment more about this stuff. All right, I get it. I asked you.
Graham,
that's probably the best answer to my entreaties.
But that's most things on the internet. You can't have a nuanced conversation.
But it's fair. It's a fair thing to say. I asked.
I'm
in the
with you on
comments.
that, Graham. That's good.
So all right, you're 1 for 2 today, Graham. First one, no. Second one, yes. Okay. All right. Legitimate authority is a duly constituted authority calling for this waging of war. To me, this is the easiest one. Yes, I think the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense are the legitimate authorities of a legitimate government.
Okay.
So they are the people to make, if it was you and me and we went out there, or if it was the people from Blackwater, or if it was, I don't know, almost any other, even if it was the governor of Florida, the answer has to be no. They don't have the authority to do that. But it does seem to me that the president and the Secretary of Defense do have the authority to do that. So is it a just cause? It seems to me, yes, it is a just cause, or it certainly could be construed that way. It's not. I don't think you're being a fool if you say it's a just cause. I'm not saying all the arguments against it are exhausted, but that seems reasonable to me. It also seems obvious to me that these are the legitimate authorities. Do they have the right intention? Okay, so the right intention, the aim must be to promote peace and protect human life, not to exact vengeance or expand power. So Napoleon invading Russia, clearly just an instance of someone hating the Tsar and wanting to expand his own power.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's what you mean when his intention is clearly wrong. Hitler invading Russia. Let's do all the people that have invaded Russia. None of them had a right to do it. Okay? Stop invading Russia, people. So, Hitler, same basic deal.
Okay.
And by the way, never compare Hitler to Napoleon. They are very, very different people. They are very different people. Modern people.
So what America's doing, it's not an invasion, though. It's international waters.
Right. But if we were just like, I don't know, like blowing up someone else's fishing boats so that our fishing boats would have a greater
That would
chance
be
of
unjust.
success,
Yep.
which is done sometimes, actually. National governments do that sometimes. That would be a wrong intention. Because unless you're actually protecting something, like you do actually have fishing grounds that belong to nations, and you have preserves, underwater preserves, and all that. But I'm talking about just on the high seas. If you're blowing up other people's fishing boats so that your fishing boats succeed, no. So the right intention here has to be to promote peace and protect human life. I feel mixed about this. I wonder if that is the case. It seems to me that it probably is, but it does seem also that there is a spirit of vengeance in this. And we have to be really careful of that. I'm not trying to decide these. I'm just trying to give the options on it. But what do you think? Spirit of vengeance or... And
I think it's coming from it. It's coming. I think there is some of that spirit of vengeance, but at the same time, it is in protection of more lives, because there is a danger heading to your waters that will kill who knows how many people.
Right, it will kill. This is deadly. People are going to die when this stuff gets into the United States. People are going to die. So somebody's talking about Russia invading Poland. Hallelujah, and Russia invading. Yeah, that's true. I'm not saying the Russians were good. I was just joking around about both of my examples were people invading
You're
Russia.
just making friends all over today, Si, aren't you?
Russia invading Ukraine. I realize, but that does not dismiss my point.
Let's go with Poland. Them invading Poland. How about that?
Poland never bothers anybody, as far as I could. Well, maybe they do sometimes. Russia invading Alaska. Okay, I get it. Russia invades a lot of people. This is called moral equivalence. Like just because I said it's wrong for Napoleon to do it, it doesn't mean that it's right for the Russians to do it. So clearly, we were stating a principle, not a geographic fact.
Is it
It's not just wrong to invade Russia. It's also wrong to invade other countries.
Rhaegar says, "Spirit of vengeance." Is that what Ghost Rider has?
Yes, I think Ghost Rider has that. Okay, so let's give him this. It's just cause, legitimate authority, and right intention. All right, let's give him that. Next quality we would look for in just war. And by the way, just war is not optional. Like you don't get to go, I don't really accept that part of Catholic teaching. That's called rejecting the Lord's own church, and that is grave matter. If you do that, your soul is in jeopardy. So don't do that. You got to accept what the church has taught us on this. So item number 4, is it a last resort? And this, I think, is what Hallelujah was getting at before she started naming all the places that Russia is into. Settle down, Hallelujah. Nobody was arguing with you about
Coming
this.
after you, man.
Russia invading this. Yeah, oh, you get it. That doesn't mean other people get to invade Russia, Hallelujah. Okay.
Hallelujah is like, I'm in your good graces. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. We love you, Haley.
Okay, so is it a last resort? This is giving me a problem.
So give it.
Okay, so I asked the guy in the Navy, and he said, look, there's a lot of these boats. I was like, this is literally what I said. You have destroyers and cutters out there. Why don't you just go interdict these boats? And he said, it probably is more boats than you think, and we can't get to them all. So his thing was, if you blow up a few of them,
It's a deterrent.
it's a deterrent. Now, that's a different moral calculus.
Yeah.
Because you are allowed to deter aggressors, so to speak. But last resort is a tough one here, isn't it? Like, I mean, I'm asking you, Internet.
It depends.
It
because,
seems awful tough to say that this is the last resort.
well, they've already committed to committing this act, which is going to kill countless lives.
Yeah.
So
They've committed the bad guys.
the people on these boats,
Right.
They know what they're doing. What are the question is, what are the options then of it that make it the last resort? The military guy that you said it's more boats than you think.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, all right, this is the last resort thing is starting to get smaller and smaller.
Right. When Michael Morvan, our friend, said 100,000 speedboats aren't fishing boats, I don't know why he put a decimal point at the end of that. He put 100,000.00 speed points. I think we got the point without the decimal there, Michael. I'm not sure exactly why you felt you needed to include that.
Michael Morvan, I wasn't ignoring your comments. I'm sorry. I'm just skipping around.
Okay, so look, this is the thing. If it's a matter of this is such a large number of boats, there is no other way to deal with this. That's what last resort means. There's not another way to deal with this. Okay, but you're making a prudential judgment there, and what evidence do we have that that's true? I honestly feel like I am agnostic about these blowing up people. I'm like, somebody explain to me, and I have not had anyone satisfactory. I asked moral theologians, I asked apologists, I asked military people. Over the last 2 weeks, nobody has given me the full argument. Nobody. Everyone goes, well, I don't really know. I'm not really sure about how many boats there are.
Well, I say give it some time. I think if this gets into the news cycle a little more and people actually start asking these questions, you're going to get some more solidified answers. Because you walked around or you made calls and you're like, hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So what do you think about blowing up speedboats with people that are bringing fentanyl over?
And I did have some people say, I'm all for it, blow them up. And not morally unserious people, morally the reason I was asking them was I was interested in their opinion because I thought that they were worthy people to ask. But I didn't get anybody who made the beginning to end argument or was able to make. People say, well, I don't actually know. So if it's this, then it's immoral. If it's this, a lot of people did the if this or if that.
Because I think everybody's still working
because
it
nobody
out in their
knows
head.
what's actually going on. So, if it's 100,000.00 speedboats coming full of deadly drugs to the American coast, that's one thing.
Okay.
And if it's 10 speedboats, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
I would guess myself, as much as I love and respect Michael Morvan, and he's very precise with his decimal points, it's somewhere in between. So, an actual number would be helpful in making the moral calculus.
That's true. Yeah, depending on how many are out there, it would change whether this is permissible or not.
All right. How about this? Probability of success. Do you know that you can't fight a war? You can't fight a hopeless war. It's immoral to fight a hopeless war.
Yeah.
So even if you're completely in the right, and you have every right to defend yourself, and if the war is hopeless, it's immoral to fight it. Yeah. So the old romantic lost cause, that's not right. There are places where you could fight a lost cause within the context of a war, like say, soldiers do this all the time, where they essentially, if we can hold out long enough, that will give them time to, regroup behind us. That's how battles are won very often. So you can fight a lost cause in that sense, but you cannot enter warfare with the expectation that you have no hope of winning. And this actually bothered me at the beginning of the Ukraine thing, and I think I was wrong about it. It struck me that there wasn't enough. Looking back on it, I think I was wrong about it, but at the time I thought, is anybody asking the question if this is a hopeless war? Like if you're going to suffer so much damage that you essentially don't destroy your own country, you're not supposed to fight that war.
Yeah.
So probability of success then, what do you think the probability of, do you think this is going to work?
I think it might be a good deterrent. I think if
That's not the same thing as is it going to work?
I think, yes, it will work because it is a deterrent.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Scare enough of them off. This is the thing. It's not going to stop them. They're just going to find other means of going about it. But at least you're closing off this gate.
But has it stopped them now? Do you know? I honestly, I'm asking.
I don't
honestly,
know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if we're. It seems to me that CNN shows the same videos over and over again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like, hey, they blew up these 8 boats, and that's the same video we're going to show over and over again. Maybe it's over. Maybe they actually did deter it, and people are afraid to get in those boats and go out now. I haven't heard any good.
I got to say, humanity is quite creative, and I'm sure they'll find other creative ways of getting around.
Yeah. And here's the one that gave me the hardest time, even worse than last resort: proportionality. Your actions must be proportional. So, for example, if Mexico, let's say Mexico allows thieves, well, no, Canada, how was it that Canada? Mexico allows like Irish terrorists to cross their border and enter the United States. But what the Irish terrorists do when they come in the United States is they steal stop signs, okay? You can't go to war with Mexico over that because it's completely out of proportion from what's happening. I said Irish because that's what happened in Canada in the 1900s.
Wait, really?
Yeah, but they weren't stealing stop signs. They were actually committing acts of war in the U.S. But Canada wasn't enforcing the laws, so the U.S. invaded Canada to enforce the law. But you can't, so just for stealing stop signs, you can't invade Mexico.
Okay.
But if, like Pancho Villa, when he came across I think it was in New Mexico, right? Is that where he came across?
Cutting off ears, man.
Did he cut off people's ears?
Yeah, my grandpa knew a guy who got his ear cut off by Pancho Villa. That's pretty rough.
Pancho Villa's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
I remember that movie they made with Antonio Banderas when he played Pancho Villa. He was wonderful.
Get a
He was great.
Spaniard to play Mexican, right?
Yeah, but he really, that's okay, don't you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fine. Yeah, I don't
like
mind.
Almost every American actress is actually Australian when you hear her. Like you're sure she's American, and then they do an
Turns
interview
out.
with her, and she's like,
Hi, mate.
"G'day, mate," and you're like, "Another Australian." So I think it's okay for a Spaniard to play Mexican.
I got to say this
Yeah.
because Michael Morvan thinks that I'm ignoring his comments. He said, it's already working, Cy. Secretary of War said that it is more and more hard to find the boats. And the Big Sec says they use submarines.
Oh, well, but even if they use submarines, that's a different thing. Sai, can you say Catholic Answers is awesome in Espanol? Sí, Catholic Answers. No. Yes, I can say it. I'm sorry, I almost said it just repeated it in English. Do I have to say, like, respuestas católicas?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
In Spanish.
Respuestas católicas es awesome.
Fantastic. I love that.
No, but the thing about Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
So you're totally sympathizing with Pancho Villa, and it was kind of bothering me. And then they showed the dirty side of Pancho Villa toward the end of the movie.
I felt that about watching the movie about Che Guevara, but they never made him look. Whoa. I
like
did
that.
know that there was So
I've never seen a movie. I couldn't watch a movie, but Che Guevara is a torturer and a murderer of children.
Yes.
Can we just please stop it with the Che Guevara? But so they made him look good.
They made a movie where he is this, liberator, revolutionary, and that's the entire movie. That's what we tend to do with people we want to make heroes, right? We never look at the dirty side of things, and he did some pretty rough things.
Very rough things.
Yeah.
Like executing 12-year-olds.
Yep.
He's a bad man. Okay, so Rhaegar Targaryen Prime said, I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and that is more Spanish than I can speak. Es verdad, amigo. Es verdad. Okay, so but I forgot why we were talking about. Oh, yes, because we were on proportionality. So can you go into Mexico if Pancho Villa comes into New Mexico and burns a town? I think that's what he did. Or it's just, I don't even know what but
He hated Americans.
the whole point is he came into America with an army. Yeah, it's completely proportional to go after. Was it a good idea? I don't know about that, but it was completely proportional. And so proportionality, is it proportional to blow people up on the high seas for smuggling drugs? All I will say to conclude this segment is these are not things that are optional for you to consider. You can roll your eyes all you want, and you could say, "Oh, you're making excuses for drug dealers," or what. I know nobody said that, but I'm just saying. I'm exaggerating for effect. But you can kind of poo-poo these things, but when people are dying, you can't do that. I mean, consider how many times have you said about abortion to other people, but it's a human life. You can't be so casual about it. Or you don't have the luxury of being casual about human life. So you have to answer these questions. Is this a just cause executed by legitimate authority with the right intention? Is it a last resort? Is there a probability of success? And is it proportional to what is being done?
Tying that into the abortion thing, is it an innocent human life? Are they innocent human lives?
No. I don't know. I mean, it may be that some people on those boats are innocent. I have no idea. But even if they were, it would be covered under under double effect. So I'm not. Did you feel that I was equating drug dealers with aborted babies?
No, but I think that's the qualifier when you're talking about abortion. It's protecting innocent human life.
Yes, no, but I wasn't talking about that argument.
Okay.
I'm talking about the argument that people make
get you.
that you can't just dismiss that this is a human being. People go, well,
Fair.
I don't know if it's human or not. No, you have a heavy moral obligation when human life is
Fair enough.
involved. I remain very uncomfortable with the blowing people up,
Okay.
but I am not convinced one way or the other on its morality. I feel like there's there's an absence of clear information about it. But I will say, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm completely comfortable going. Like, if somebody said to me, Pancho Villa invaded the United States and whichever president it wasn't Coolidge. I can't remember which president it was sending the army in, sending Blackjack Pershing in. I'd be like, okay, that's exactly what the just war theory. That's exactly fits. With this one, I just feel like I don't like seeing people blown up from the sky, and I'm not sure they're not flying a flag of war. They're not directly attacking anyone. They are doing something that will lead to deaths, but they are not. It's not piracy. It's not as bad as piracy.
Watching somebody die should make you uncomfortable no matter what.
Okay, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I like that. That's well said.
Yeah.
That's well said. Edgar Lujano did this beautiful new studio. So everybody on YouTube, give a thumbs up to Edgar. about what a great job he did.
It was a fun weekend.
Can we do a video tour of the studio a little bit? Are there different camera shots we can show?
You
Or-
can show a couple of different camera shots. There's your camera shot. Behind you, you have the great Fulton Sheen, Bishop Fulton Sheen back
There he
there.
is.
Obviously, so the reason
With the cape.
the cape. The reason I put him in there, he is the pioneer of using media to evangelize. He is the guy. Back in what years? What was
You're
he?
talking about electronic media.
Electronic media. There we go. Yes, electronic media. First, he was on TV. He won an Emmy, I think, was it? He won an Emmy. So
Oh, he was very popular too.
Yeah.
On a network that's now defunct, and then on ABC. Like he was big time.
Yeah.
He was big time.
So I had to bring him in. So can we make a channel called Sipping, Drinking, something with
In a
Fulton
year?
Sheen in a year?
Sipping with Fulton Sheen in a year. Sipping drinks with Fulton Sheen in a year.
And then behind side, we also have the great G.K. Chesterton, because this is, I don't think a lot of people know this. Jeff didn't know this until he walked by your old office and saw the big plaque that says
But this is the Chesterton studio.
G.K. Chesterton Studios. So that you have to have a bust of G.K. Chesterton. And a big shout out to my mentor, John, who 3D printed that. So he's going to give me a better one, but he's currently working on it.
Is it childish of me that it bothers me that the word bust has two different meanings? And is that childish?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, all right.
A tad bit, yep. There we go, King Neptune. A full beer with Fulton. I love it. That's perfect.
Who did that? Who said that? King Neptune?
King Neptune, yeah.
Rocking it, man.
Oh, and I got to get Jeff in here because Jeff has a cool little thing for King Neptune to see. So, and then behind Sai, of course, we cannot. We're not here. You know, we can't do any of this if it's not for Christ. So, at the very top, we have a crucifix, the one that we had in the other setup, and under the crucifix, we have an image of La Pieta.
Can we maybe put that crucifix over there on the table? Because it would be nice to be able to see a crucifix. I can't see a crucifix. Like
Yeah.
when I'm looking right now, I can see. I think that might be the Annunciation
Yes,
over there.
that's the Annunciation.
I see the holy water over there, but I got no crucifix.
Yeah. Well, technically, there's one behind your computer here.
Oh, there is right there. Oh, no. Okay, that's good. I didn't know. You could have told me that a little earlier before
Nah,
I did a whole performance.
It was fun watching that. And then down on the lower shelves here, we have two things. We have 3 of our mugs, the 25-year anniversary of Catholic Answers Live, which is what, last year? Year before that?
It was
Oh, yeah.
it's
that-
good.
that-
It's
yep.
good. That is it.
Yeah, and then a couple of the other Catholic Answers mugs. And then on this side, we have 2 awards that Catholic Answers has won over the years. One of them is, it says Max 98. So all I know is, what's that from, Darren? It was in your office beforehand.
I don't know what Max means, but it was in the first year of the show.
Oh, no way. Okay, cool. There you go. Well, the award from one of the first years, and then we have a award from Spirit Catholic Radio from 2017, awarded to Christopher Check and Catholic Answers. So
I want to get a trophy that just says participation on it and put it up there.
that'll be in honor of all the millennials here, which is, I think, at this moment just me. Maybe. Am I the only millennial here? Is that?
I don't know what a millennial is. I can't figure out any of those things. I know I was not a baby boomer when I was a child, and now everyone's like, you're a baby boomer.
1980
And nobody thought I was a baby boomer when I was a kid.
1980 to 1995 is a millennial.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then you're one.
Yeah. And wait, are you a millennial?
By like 3 months. I'm one of the oldest millennials, and
What
I
comes
didn't know
before-
that.
what
So
comes
I'm-
before millennial? I don't even know
You
what-
are, by honor, an elder millennial.
I'm a millennial that identifies as Gen X.
Gen X, is that what comes after the baby boomers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gen Xer.
I'm telling you, this is my rule. You are not a baby boomer if you never had to worry about being drafted to go to Vietnam.
Go do your show prep before the show starts.
Nah, I got no time. I'll just hang out.
All right, cool.
I'm going to hang out. Why, are you going to do something good?
Oh, well, I was going to go set
Cy
up for
seems
call
like
screening.
Gen X. Thank you, Liz B. Cath. You are correct. Millennial gang, says King Newpont and King Neptune. I don't know what that means, millennial gang. I don't know.
Is Jeff out there? No, he's not.
Has the Pope sent y'all anything yet? Why?
Why would he?
Was he going to? No more dismay?
Is Graph a millennial? Yes, he is. My millennials are coming out. That's cool. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I'm not alone. How's the back pain going? Because it's not going too well here. So
Rhaegar Targaryen Prime is a Gen Y. I don't know what that is either, but I feel like a Gen X. None of this. It's so funny that
Hold on,
I
no-
don't know what any of that means. I know what a baby boomer
no,
is.
hold on. Gen Y is millennial.
Yeah.
Oh, Gen Y is millennial.
Yeah,
Same
Gen Y is
thing?
millennial. So it's XYZ. So
So Gen Z is when?
Gen Z is 95 to 20.
So my kids are Gen Z.
Yeah, actually, yes, because then there's Gen Alpha. I don't like that for them. They're not that alpha. I think they just turned 18 a year ago. That's Gen Alpha.
Well, maybe because they're the first generation of the 20th century,
Sure.
21st century.
Sure. And then
I don't know. I'm
then-
trying to help here.
And then after that, this year, 2025, is the birth of Gen Beta, which is very, very unfortunate for them. If you see, you're laughing because you understand the context. He has no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah.
What's beta?
If you're a beta, you're just not that guy.
Like an alpha male or a beta male?
Yep.
Oh.
You're a beta. Beta is no. And then you have the sigmas, which we don't talk about.
I feel like anybody who says alpha male or beta male is just automatically
Not
a beta
beta male.
male.
You're just a beta. You're just a
like,
beta.
if you're worried
All right.
about those things,
Tom
you
Nash.
are a beta.
Tom Nash, get in here. See you guys.